is an asset and it has value. And talking to the right financial stream, you can now.
We purchased it at 410k. Its current value is 900, around 900k.
We make sure we do not offer shoddy accommodation. That's one of the greatest things that needs to be emphasised. If you're going to get into this game, do not be cheap and cheerful, poor quality. Let your standard reflect what you're offering and what you're about.
You're on mute. All right, welcome. Sorry. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome to Nelson Property Consultants. Hello. Good evening, guys. And ladies. We are here very much to serve you. We are here for 1 hour. And this is a special feature that we put on the first Wednesday of every month. Just so that you can come and submit all of your questions to us, and we can hopefully answer as many as we can. Now, we've been inundated this month. It's probably because it's the first one for the year 2025. So we have been inundated with questions. I'm not sure we will get through them all, but we will try our very best. But we'd just like to thank you for joining us today. So just for those who haven't been with us before, let me just give you a short background of who we are. Nelson Property Consultants was founded by myself, Deanne Nelson, and my partner, Adi Fabumi Stone, who's also in the room with me. I will be handing you over to him in just a short while. But it's just to give you a background. We were set up really because we realized that there were so many people with property questions, property issues, issues surrounding inherited property, issues surrounding financing on property and refinancing, releasing equity, portfolio building, wanting to renovate. There's a myriad of questions that surround property that people just don't know where to go to get answers. We look at the whole wealth planning in terms of your property portfolio, the right company structures. We look at even pensions and how you can utilize those with property. So, and also tax. We're not tax advisors, but we work with a power team, and we have strategic partners that can help you tax plan efficiently. So we do the whole shebang, so to speak. Okay, so that's NPC. And we are expanding. And so, yeah, I'll let Adi tell you a little bit more about that later. A little bit about me. My background is very much buy to let. I've been buying properties since the 1980s. From the tender age of age 18, I had my first property. I later on moved into commercial property after building my buy to let portfolio. And so now I do a mixture, or have a portfolio in a mixture of the two. I'm also looking at many other strategies, including supported living. So that's enough about me. I'm going to hand you over to my partner, Adi Stone.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody here tonight. It's really, really impressive. I think we've had over 100 registrants this evening for our Q&A. So that's just, I applaud you. I applaud you. From you can take the time out on a Wednesday evening at the beginning of 2025, it tells me you are serious about making something happen in 2025. So I applaud you. Well done. You're on board, you're on the journey, and we're going to hold your hands through it. So lovely to have you on board. My name's Adi Fabumi Stone. I'm the co-founder with Dean Nelson. And
can someone mute it, please?
Can someone mute the mic for me, please? I can hear conversation. So, as I was saying, my name's Adi Fabumi Stone, co-founder with Deanne Nelson. We've been in property for years. Deanne bought her first in the 80s, so did I. I've gone through almost every strategy there is. Some of the strategies that are talked about now, I didn't even know they were strategies. Renting rooms out and calling them HMOs, putting someone in a shop and calling it a commercial lease and dealing with commercial property. But over the years, I've realized I've done it. and I've learned a lot from it, and I've done very well from it. And I want to share that with you guys, because my motto, for those who know me, is that I don't want to be on the mountaintop having a lavish time and my friends and family are nowhere to be seen. That's a boring retirement. I want it to be that we're all there, we're all having fun, we've all made good money and had a good journey in our property line. So there's probably not a strategy I haven't dealt with, other than probably serviced accommodation. Although my daughter and I worked together on a particular property up in Blackfriars Bridge Road. We had a couple up there, and we turned those into service accommodation, and then COVID came. So what can I say? COVID killed us. So we got out of that quick. Anyway, but that's a bit about me. I'm going to hand you back to Deanne now. What Deanne was alluding to you earlier on was that we are now actually recruiting more consultants because the demand is becoming absolutely ridiculous. And there's no point someone contacting us on a Monday and we can't even get back to them till Thursday, Friday. So we're bringing on some more consultants, some more backroom staff to maintain our service levels so we can make sure we serve you in the most professional and time appropriate manner that we can. On that note, Deanne, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Addy. Okay, so like I say, we've had a high number of registrants, and we've also had a large volume of questions. So I'm going to kick off, but what I'm going to do is kind of group some of them, because some of them are kind of have a common theme running through them. And so I'm going to kick off with the first question, which is from Babatunji. But also Jeremy McGrath also had a similar question. So I don't know if they are both in the room. Can anyone let me know whether Jeremy is here and Babatunji, are they here? Can anyone from the office see them? If so, shout yes to me. If not, I will proceed to read out the questions. Okay, so Babatunde's question to us tonight is, as a first-time investor that quickly wants to grow, would you rather start with residential or commercial properties? Okay, so I'm going to break that down first before I go into the second part of the question. So for me, if you want to grow quickly, and I don't know if there is such a thing as growing quickly, as so to speak, because this race is really more for those, it's not for the swift, it's for those that can endure it. It really is. So but I understand if you do want to try and do it over as less a time as possible or as quickly as possible. So if you want to do that, I would personally start with residential. And that's simply because it's low, you can get higher loan to value anyway, so it's going to be less money going in for a start, but it's also a little bit less complex. You know, you can walk into an estate agent, somebody will take your details and will want to, you know, throw a house at you or many houses at you. It's a little bit more of a hard nut to crack if you're going to go down the commercial route, and that's because sometimes they kind of only really want to deal with, you know, what they deem to be professional investors, people that they know. They'll have certain people on their books, and they'll tend to kind of favor sending properties out to those people. Commercial is also a very wide field, and you really have to know what you're doing. So it also depends on what you want to do in commercial as well. You know, it could be that you want to do a commercial conversion, that's commercial to residential under permitted development. It could be that you want to buy a mixed commercial property. So, you know, residential upstairs or part residential, part commercial, and do a renovation on some or all, sell that off, you know, or title split. There's so much that you can do. You can literally buy and hold. But like I say, it's a little bit more complex and probably need a little bit more money up front. So especially if you're new, I would keep it to residential and then go off into commercial at a later date, maybe when I've got more experience and a bit more confidence. The second part of your question, Baba, was what strategy would you advise one should engage in for a faster growth in building and growing one's portfolio? And that's very similar to what Jeremy's question was, which was how can I best create an investment business plan for strategy growth and scaling my property business, being diverse to alleviate having all my eggs in one basket. So for me personally, what we do with people that come, well, I should say not personally, but what we do for people that come to us is we look at, number one, where are you at? You know, what are your resources? What are your funds? What's your starting point? Have you already got a portfolio with equity in it? Or are you starting from, maybe just one property, your main resi, which has some equity? Do you have funds? Do you have investment from family members or whoever? We look at what you've got, and we look at what it is that you want to achieve. So, for instance, we've got a couple of clients at the moment that they want to build their portfolio in a supported living area. So what we have done is we've devised a spreadsheet whereby we've started off in month 1 with their initial cash injection, and we have taken that, we've looked at what deposits are required, what loan is required, what refurb monies are required, stamp duty, legal fees, all of those things. What the end GDV is going to be, gross development value, what they'd be able to refinance out, and what they can then put into the next project. We do it over a timeline as well. How long would we expect this to take? And then we literally do that across the period in which they would want to, scale by. So say it's over a 24-month period. We show that on the spreadsheet, what it looks like. We show literally at what point they will run out of money and where they might need to go back to the first project and refinance more monies out to further fund their journey, or take a bit of a breather or sell something. So that's the kind of business plan that we will put together for someone coming to us. It's very much based on what they want to achieve and where they're starting from. And then we design a roadmap to make sure that you get there. In terms of what strategy, for me personally, I like commercial very much so. I like title splitting, but I also like supported living in residential. And in terms of cash flowing, supported living is a great area to be in. Some people prefer HMOs. I prefer supported living because it's hands off for me. So that's why I call it a really good cash flowing property business. I think that's more or less it in terms of my contribution to that question, Ad. Yeah, for me, the best cash flowing is either going to be those that I can sit back and don't have to do much for. And for me, that's anything on an FRI lease, anything commercial, or anything in a supported living arena. Addy, what's your thoughts?
Just to clear up, I'm assuming that people don't know, but if you do, I apologize. But FRI, full repairing and insuring lease. That means once you give it over to a tenant, the tenant does everything. You can literally sit back. If the boiler blows, they don't call you as a landlord. If there's a leak through the roof, they don't call you as landlord. Full repairing and insuring. Just so you've got that jargon, what that means. I think, Dee, you're on the money. There's nothing I can really add to that other than I think the starting point is cash flow. To build a portfolio quickly, you need cash flow. Once you can access that cash flow in the various ways that Dee has described, you stand a chance to build that portfolio. My own view is the more number of units growing all at once, the better, rather than a small number growing all at once. So probably better to have 10 than it is to have 3. But again, that all depends. Depends on the area, depends on the kind of rental incomes you get, the cost of the properties, etc. But as Dee has rightly said, first and foremost, you have to have a plan for your cash flow. Okay.
And we do that. We do that here at NPC. We set it out for you. So, and we show you the numbers in your consultation, so you can agree if that's the best way for you. Okay, brilliant. All right. So the next question. Okay. Can I just ask the office? Are we posting the questions in the chat box? Should we? Yeah. Okay. So the next question or set of questions was from Tam Martin, Sandra Smart, and Roger Oscar. So Addy, do you want to tackle those?
Okay, I'm just going to go with first names. I won't, so bear with me if you think it might be or not. But Tam, Sandra, and Roger all wanted to know really about HMOs. It really was a range, but it was all on HMO. I think the one thing that Tam asked initially is, how does an HMO work? Basically, an HMO is a house of multiple occupants. If we think back in the day when people used to do room by room rents, and we still see that in today, where people on low incomes generally will be able to afford an apartment or jointly share a house, or they may rent a room in a house. In that room you rent can either come with a tenancy for that particular room, and a lot of times that's done under a license agreement, but the rent includes all the utilities. So once you pay your rent, there's nothing else to worry about. So if you're trying to budget, sometimes HMOs are not a bad thing in a sense of, I've got my room, everything included. Once I pay that, then I'm good. No stress. I can sleep happily with both eyes closed. In terms of what the HMO will do, it will generate you more income because of the fact that you can charge a higher rent. The downside is that utilities now are so expensive that sometimes you will find that the HMO revenue, net revenue, is not much different to a buy-to-let. However, you are getting some ridiculous room rents. So as long as you don't have tenants, and it may be down to you or your managing agent to do your checks, but as long as you don't have a tenant who thinks, well, I'm including all my bills within this rent, so I'm going to sit here like it's in the Caribbean, 35 degrees in my room, never turn off the radiator, even put an electric heater on if the gas heating goes off. And by the way, so it's a little bit of fresh air, I'll open the window wide as well. What that leaves you with is horrendously large bills. However, if you get responsible tenants, and they use the utilities responsibly, generally speaking, HMO is a higher source of income. As Dee alluded to in the last point, if we're looking at cash flow, net rent income is what it's all about. So the more rental you can get, the better. Sometimes HMOs are actually, they're still house of multiple occupants, but they're rented to one group of people. Generally speaking, this is my preferred strategy because I don't like the stress of one room moves out, then I've got to fill it. Someone else moves out, then I've got to fill it. Then there's a problem. I've got to get all the tenants together. So it's not as lucrative, the strategy I use, but for peace of mind, I find it just perfect. The difference is not great, but the peace of mind is huge. I rent it to one set of tenants. They're sharers. All of them feature on the tenancy agreement. They all decide how much they're going to pay as a contribution, depending on the size of room, because the bigger rooms will pay more than the smaller rooms, but it all comes into me as one rent. I can think of 2 properties in particular I have where it's done as one tenancy and they really just pay it as one rent. And if somebody moves out, then it's down to them to replace. Either all of them move or the remaining tenants replace the exiting tenant. Sandra asks, what if I wanted to raise capital on a house to be able to change it into an HMO? Well, it's possible. It depends on your circumstances. It depends whether you've got equity in the house, if the house is unencumbered. It depends on your circumstances. But as a general point of view, as long as you have enough equity, there is money that can be raised in different forms. It could be equity release, it could be development finance. There are various ones, but come and see us at NPC and we'll go through that with you. If you want to convert it from a house into an HMO, then we can hold your hands. And as we said, at NPC, we don't just really do education, and then you're off on your own to do what you need to do. We execute. That's what we're about. It's not here to tell you to watch videos and read lots of articles. We're here to hold your hand to execute that. And that's what we do, converting that 3-bed into an HMO. Last but not least, are HMOs better return than conventional buy-to-let properties or even flipping? Roger, that's from you. If you're going for investment, then HMOs can be very lucrative, as explained, and cash flow would be good. Flip, if you get your figures right, there's nothing better than a nice lump sum of money. So it's difficult to compare flipping with an HMO investment. Flips, lump sums of money, HMOs, regular income, nets, rent profit. So they're quite different. But in terms of your monthly return, if you're not doing a flip to get a lump sum once or twice a year, then HMO is a good strategy. Dee, do you want to add anything to that?
All I would add is where Sandra's asked about raising capital to change a 3-bedroom into a multi-occupancy house, so a HMO. I would just say that there are quite a few ways that you can raise capital, and we work with people who can do that for you. So you can get development loans, generally up to 65% loan to value in terms of the maximum GDV. So whatever that maximum GDV, gross development value, is going to be, you can typically get a development loan up to 65% of that. But just bear in mind, if the property is unencumbered, you will get 65% of the value of that property. If the property isn't unencumbered, meaning that you still have a mortgage on the property, you will have to minus off whatever the outstanding mortgage is from the 65% loan to value. So what do I mean? In monetary terms, if your property is worth 100, or it's going to be worth 100,000 after you do that that renovation, if that's, you know, what you're looking to make, you may get up to £65,000. However, if you have an outstanding mortgage of, say, £10,000, then you might only get £55,000. So development loans are out there. There, you know, there are facilities that enable you to do your renovations and whatever it is that you need to do, your refurbishments. Do come and speak to us, and we can further guide you on that. I would also just like to remind you as well of the Renters Reform Act and the importance of having correct advice. You know, information about the correct structure, information about the correct setup, you know, a correct company setup, or whatever structure it is that you choose to use for your property journey. So we guide you through all of that. A lot of people get lost in that process because they don't have that knowledge, and you always have to stay abreast of what's happening in terms of rules, regulations, laws. So, you know, and the Renters Reform Bill is one of those. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much, Dee. Over to you.
No problem. Okay. Can we mute whoever that is, please? Office, Jess? Yep. Thank you. Okay. So next set of questions from Craig and Angela, and that's very much about if you had 100K. So Craig's question is, how would you invest, really, or what would you do with it? And funny, this is a question that actually comes up quite a lot. You know, if you had 100K, what would you do with it? How would you invest it? What's the best thing? What's the right strategy? And gosh, I don't think there's any one answer, really, because different people might do different things. Different people might have different ways that they would want to invest that money. But I'm going to break it down a bit. So Craig's questions, he's got 3 questions in one. So it's how to find a buy to let with 80% loan to value. Is Craig in the room? Craig, you are. Can I just ask you, what do you actually mean by that? How to find a buy to let with 80% loan to value? Are you talking about a buy to let mortgage with 80% loan to value? Is that what you mean?
So it's more like, so for example, if you have £80,000 of equity in a property and you've got some cash to add it to 100K, which is pretty much the same thing, how would you, like, what would be your strategy? Would your strategy be, okay, with this one property, would I then invest it and make it into a HMO? Or do I then go and buy 2 properties, do my figures, and then work out, okay, my stamp duty costs this, maybe let's just say I put 50 here and let's just say 40 here. So I've gone up Northampton, for example, and I've gone to Newcastle. So I'm not sure whether I should go for that strategy or if I should go for a different strategy. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, okay. All right. And as I said, I get this question a lot. Somebody could have 100K and do, you know, sort of split that into buying 1, 2, possibly 3 properties if they went up north, because your 100K might go further up north. Whereas somebody might say, well, I'm London based, I'm not interested up north, I am just going to buy a property down here. What could 100,000 buy you down here? Well, if I'm looking at figures of, say, a property of 250,000, first of all, Your deposit on that is going to be 62,500. And then on top of that, you're also going to have your stamp duty, which is going to be another 12,500. Just checking my figures, just making sure I'm not giving you anything that's dud. Yes.
Dee, just while you're checking those, just so
Yep.
you know, when Dee says 62.5, it's a 75% loan to value mortgage based on that 250.
Yeah. So thank you, Ad. So 62,500 would be your deposit, and as Addy says, that's 25% of the value of the property. The other 75% meaning that you would obtain that from your as a mortgage. You'd then have around 12,500 to pay in stamp duty, so that brings you up to 75. You'd then have some legal fees as well. So let's just say you rounded that up, probably some additional fees, you rounded that up to around 80,000. So say you're sitting at around 80,000. That leaves you with about 20K. This is on a £250,000 property in London. That would leave you with about 20K to say, okay, this is what I've got for my renovation. Now, don't forget, you could perhaps get some kind of development loan. But if you wanted to do a light fluff and buff on a property, you would probably have 20K to put into it. Don't forget, you do want to have some contingency as well. Okay, so that's where you might be. Your 100,000 would be now sunk into that property. Well, so your 100,000, your 62.5, because obviously the other 75% is the mortgage. Your 62.5 would now be sunk into that property, and your stamp duties will be in that property. How long before you can refinance that out? Probably a couple of years before you can start to look at refinancing out that money. So that's down south. If you were to do the same thing up north, you could probably get a couple of properties for that money, because obviously it's cheaper, so it's all relative. Okay. Now, for me personally, 100K, what I would do is I work down south. I've got properties that are outside of London, slow growth, and I have no further interest in doing anything up north unless it's a quick in, quick out, and I know that I can make money, but without having to do all the traveling. I'm not interested in that. So for me being down south and based down here, what would I do? If I had 100,000, I would probably want to try and do a couple of flips where I can to grow that pot of cash so that I could further fund my journey. Would 100K get me anywhere? We've just gone through that exercise. You could possibly get a property for around 250, maybe do a light renovation and hopefully flip it and get an uplift in value. It would be easier if you could join up with someone, and if they've got a pot of cash or equity, make that 100K, 200K, you do a good project, you split the profits and you go again until you're able to part ways and go on your own. But I personally would be investing my money into flipping. The other thing that you could do, and this is what Angela has asked, and that is what strategy, what advice, she's asked, if you have 100 to invest, what advice would you give regarding a profitable investment, i.e. social housing, rent to rent, etc.? If I had 100,000, I wouldn't be doing rent to rent. I would rather be doing supported living. So what I would rather do is buy a property, put a care provider in, and get them in on an FRI lease, so they're maintaining the property. If they need to renovate it according to the person that's going to be living there, renovate it, make sure that they're living in and providing fully supported living care. So they become a company that's trading in your property for 24 hours a day. And after 2 years of trading, you can get that commercial valuation, okay, which is aside from the bricks and mortar valuation. That commercial valuation is based on the income that is coming in from the company trading in that property. That's likely to be a higher valuation than the bricks and mortar. Because of that higher valuation, you refinance your money out. You'll get more because of the higher valuation, and you take what you take out and fund again, go again, put another care provider in another property and scale that way. So me personally, that's the strategy I'm very much interested in nowadays. It's a supported living. I wouldn't so much do social housing slightly different. Social housing might be emergency housing. You know, sometimes I personally don't want to deal with the local boroughs directly. I would much rather deal with a care provider who's providing care, who's guaranteed their funding from the councils to look after these vulnerable people, and they have my payments guaranteed as a result of that. So that's my strategy, and that's what I would do, either flips or social housing if I wanted to do buy, refurbish, refinance. Addy, anything
Thank you,
to add?
Diane. No, it's absolutely wonderful. What's really interesting, listening to what you're saying, and I'm actually working with a client at the moment on this sort of thing. They've only got 40,000, but I'll share with that in a moment. But it's actually looking at the 100,000 and looking at the strategies Deanna's described there. What I've come to realize that the strategy with that 40 or 100,000 is somewhat age related as well, and where you are at that stage in life. Because me personally, like Deanne, I wouldn't want the hassle. I'd put it into a property, supported living, get maximum income, or I'd do a flip, working with a builder. I bring the money, they do all the work. That's what I'd do at my stage, even though, you know, I'm in the 30s bracket. But yeah, okay, sorry, don't mean to say that. But but if I was in my 20s or 30s now, like the client I'm working with now, Jonathan, what he has done, he said to me, no, Addy, I want to put my money into recruiting people to go out there, get me landlords who are prepared to do a rent to rent. I'll put my house up. He's got a rental property, not his home, because I said you mustn't use your home. He's got a rental property, which he will give any landlord a guarantee that he will pay the rent. And if he doesn't pay the rent, the landlord has a right to come and put a charge on his property, or even if need be, force it to sell. That gives landlords a lot of security. Now, what he's done is built up a team of 2 people, including himself, making 3, and they go out and all they do is they bang on landlords' doors, bang on. And to date, he's now got 26 rent to rents. So his 40,000 has not been used to buy any property, but he's got a base now. We started off with 14. We've acquired, but we have acquired, he has another 12. His cash flow is very good. He makes sure he goes around and inspects the properties on a regular basis. But for him, at 33, he's got all the energy it takes, and he doesn't mind driving all around London, meeting landlords, signing the deal. So at the end of the day, it's horses for courses. Rent to rent, if you've got the energy, you've got a small pot, and you're ready to go for it, is another strategy you may want to consider. And at NPC, we'll make sure we break down whatever you've got, whatever you're doing, whatever your lifestyle is, what your work situation is, because we don't want you working 20 hours a day to be able to go on holiday, that luxurious holiday, one day a year, because you may find one year that holiday is to the hospital and you don't want to do that. But it works for some. So you have to decide which strategy is best for you.
Definitely. And I just echo that, Ad, because I mean, I have a couple of properties that I've got a client, it's a young client, and I've been working with them, and I've given them one of my properties as a, just as a little, what's the word, project for him to do. And I've said to him, okay, I'll hand this property to you. It's come up for rent. I'll hand it to you, and you go out and find someone to put in there, and you can make the difference on it. So he's busy out there now trying to look to do that rent to rent, and that's just to help him to get started. Don't worry, I don't give all my properties away to people to do, so don't get any ideas. Don't get any ideas. I was just working with him, but you know, obviously, if that's a business, like Hadi says, that you can build up, then that's something that you could build up to a real good profitable level with a great turnover, and later on sell that business and take those funds to further fund your own journey. Because the reason why I wouldn't do rent to rent is just like what Adi said, haven't got the energy, haven't got the time at my age. However, it's a good way to get into the business should you not be able to afford to buy. So, but the emphasis is very much on building that so that you could perhaps later on sell that portfolio, because regardless, it's still a portfolio. And I think also just knowing as well that in all of this, you know, we very much work in the creative finance space as well. So for people who probably come with 100 or less than 100, whatever, there are creative finance strategies out there by which you can, you know, obtain some private finance. We work with people in our power team, you know, again, sometimes we look at projects where we can, you know, raise the finance or create the funding for projects, but it's got to be the right project. It's got to be the right kind of business model, as we call it, you know, make sure that, you know, we've got to make sure that you are with your project, someone who's investable in, and also, you know, the project is a great investment. And if it's a great investment and there's profit to be made, or it's a good business model, trust me, you will find the finance. That's without a doubt. Whether it be through us, whether it be through our strategic partners, but the finance can always be found for great projects.
Totally concur. Totally concur. Good projects, the monies follow.
Yes, definitely, definitely. If it's a great project, the money will be hunting you down as opposed to you hunting down the money. Excellent. Okay, so the next set of questions, well, the next question actually, Addy, is from Hannah Potter. So I'm going to read that one out, and if I build it up, will you smash it down? You look unsure.
I'll reserve judgment.
All right, all right. Well, we're in the business of building, aren't we? So
okay, we'll build all the way.
I'm going to build it up, and then you can knock it down. So this one's from Hannah. Hannah has asked, thank you for posting that in the chat box. What are your top strategies for those starting out in 2025? Oh, don't knock me down.
Is that your build-up?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, my apologies. I thought he was going to say something sort of magnanimous, and I was going to think, oh, okay. Anyway, okay, to get back to the question, what are your top strategies for those starting out in 2025? I think the key phrase there is starting out. I'm hoping I've got this right. What Hannah is saying, I'm just about to embark on my property journey. Because if you're on the journey and you've been on it several years, then there are totally different strategies to be spoken about. But let's start on the premise that you are just getting into property. 2025 is the launch of you going for it. The first thing I would say, if that's you, get educated. This is where, when you see these webinars, seminars, whatever they may be, come up free of charge, there's networking events on property free of charge. Attend or watch as many of them as you can. Learn as much as you can. It's the one thing that has saved me thousands and thousands, in fact, hundreds of thousands of pounds over my 40-year property journey. Because if you don't know, you don't know. As they say, you don't know what you don't know. Don't wait to find out through an expensive lesson what it is you didn't know. Literally, just gobble up as much information as you can. When you've done that, you will see for yourself, with your own personal circumstances, what would be the best strategy for you to embark on. Now, as we said, NPC, we're not educators. We will share with you, we'll service your needs, but we're all about execution. So if you've done the reading, or you're going through the reading, and you come and you speak with us, we will have discussions with you as to what you found, what you think works for you, what are your personal circumstances, and then we say, right, come on, you've got to now go for it. If you procrastinate, you're going to find that nothing happens. So you have to just say, I've got the knowledge, I've got someone to hold my hand, NPC, through this cauldron of different bits of information. We will make sure you make the right decisions at the right time. Yeah. And if you do that, then your journey for 2025, or you're embarking on a journey for 2025, is more likely to be successful. So education, knowledge, and then linking up with the executors. And NPC, we are the executors. If you're talking about you've been in it for a few years, and you now want to say, what am I going to do for 2025? I think this is where I'll let Dee build the house even more. Dee, I've laid the foundation. I've done the first vertical erection. Now I'll let you put the house on the roof on top and do second fix. Over to
Oh
you.
my gosh. Okay, I've forgotten what the question is.
What
Right,
what
okay.
are
What's
your
the
top
question?
strategies for those starting out in 2025? But we're saying from this perspective, we're saying the person is already on their journey. They've been in property. What strategy should they now progress to for 2025? Just a sort of different type of client.
It's really a hard one because I think it's so personal to you and what where
Absolutely.
you are and what you want to achieve. It's what's your starting point and where are you trying to get to. What might be a good strategy for me right now might not necessarily be a good strategy for you. I mean, for me, in general, I'm very much operating in a supported living space. A lot of you know that. A lot of you on here, a few of you on here are my clients already, and I'm helping you to build your portfolio in that. And there's a timeline. You can see with the spreadsheet that I've shared with you, or that has been shared with you, that over sort of 12 months, 24 months, whatever, how many properties you will have and where your funding will, how far your funding will go. So it's very personal, very tailored. So for me, that's my top strategy for 2025. It's that. But it's also commercial as well. If something comes up that's commercial, Adi, we've got a lot of commercial landing on our desk at the moment. There's a particular project that we've been looking at, and we're very much looking at turning that commercial premises back into residential. Already uppers as already the uppers are residential, and we're looking at turning the commercial into residential. We've been viewing quite a few projects like that as well. So we will look at that all day long, because if we do something like that, that's a great pot of cash. Whereas for me, continuing to build is very much supported living. Continuing to build my portfolio, very much supported living. That's me and my pension. That's me and my legacy for my children. That's capital appreciation in the long run that I know is stable, that's going to be there. But in terms of if I want to have something that's, a high cash turnover now and something for now and something to further fund my journey, then I might very much be looking at either some kind of commercial flip or something where there is, a larger premises that I can perhaps create 2, 3, 4 flats out of, do a title split, and then sell them off, and again create an uplift in value, bigger pot of cash to then play with. In terms of how will you benefit financially with NPC, I always say this, and one of our trusted advisors and mentors who works along with us, they're also on the call with us. I hope you don't mind me mentioning your name, Emmanuel.
You ain't got a choice now.
He's got no choice. One of the sayings that Emmanuel always says, and I've heard it said before, that if you think the cost of professional advice, oh, recording stopped. Doesn't want to capture this bit, the recording. But if you think the cost of professional advice is expensive, then try the cost of poor advice or no advice at all. Even worse, just your own choice based on ignorance or lack of knowledge. We are here to really give you the tools, and as Adi says, it's about the hand holding. It's great having the education and doing all these things, but the amount of people that come to us and they've got all the education and they've done nothing. And that's the thing. You see, people say knowledge is power, but it isn't. Knowledge is potential. It's potential. You fill your head with it, but if you don't do anything, if you don't take the action, that's all it remains. Head knowledge and potential. So we are here very much to help you take the action, and that's what we do. We handhold you through that portfolio build, through that property issue, through that refinancing issue, through raising whatever it is that you've got to do. We do it with you, and we don't let you go until you've got it. So
Can I
yeah,
just quickly add, Dee, that
yeah.
you've just taken me to a client. I won't mention his name because I think 1 or 2 people on the phone on the call tonight know this person. But he's entered unlike me, but he's entered the 60s club. And his motto is all about now, Adi, I've been in property for 30, 35 years. And all I ever thought was build, 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 build. So I'll have a nice pension. He's now 64. He wants to retire at 65. And he's, from talking to him from last year to now this year, it's like 180-degree turn. He was talking investments last year, now he's talking selling. It's not just to give himself some money in the bank. What he's saying is that I've done all the investing, I've done all the building the portfolio. Now it's time for me to be the financer, like the company I used to go and get my finance from. So his target is sell off half of his portfolio, raise 2.5 mil, and he's going to start investing. So when people are looking for JV partners, when they're looking for bridging, he's going to be one of my first port of calls, because he's made it very clear. Addy, any deals that come in, the right deals, I'm ready to invest. I'm not going to charge bridging rates of 12%, but I'm not going to charge residential rates of 4 or 5%. So different horses for courses.
But why is that though, Ad? The thing is, the main reason why that is, and there's plenty more people like that out there. The main reason is because his money sitting in the bank is not going to earn him as much as if he invests that money for a 6, 8, or 10% return. And for me, the what's the word? Meaning of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get a different result. If you've worked X amount of years for your money, isn't it time? You've got it all locked up in your house in equity or whatever. Isn't there a time when actually you should relax back and allow your money to start working for you? And that's exactly what he's doing. And I think here with us at NPC, we're passionate about that as well. We're passionate about helping you to create that wealth, like I say, in a tax efficient way, create your wealth through property, look at things. The amount of people that have come to us and didn't even see that they could have done something this way or done something another way to achieve something. So it's just looking at your situation. And that's what we're here for, to give you the tools and the knowledge so that you can be a savvy property investor as well as the rest of us, really, and just accelerate your own wealth creation. So and enjoy the journey as well. Enjoy the journey, but we're giving you the opportunity to tap into all our years of experience. We've gone out there and done it all, and we're sharing it with you so that you don't have to recreate the wheel. We will share our wisdom with you. That's what we're here to do at NPC. Okay. Right, where are we now at?
Next question is from Winston. Do you want me to read it and then you answer it?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Winston says, I'm in the process of releasing equity from my property with the intention of purchasing a property through my limited company. What is the best way to fund my business and how does the company pay me back?
Okay, so I don't know if Winston is on the call, but thank you, Winston, for your question. I think he is actually. Yeah, I think I did see him there. So basically, Winston, all that happens with that is quite a straightforward answer. All that happens is that you would take that equity or release that equity, and then you would put it into your company's bank account, and that would then go in on your accounts, as in your company accounts, as a director's loan. And obviously you let your accountant know that you have injected that cash into the business as a director's loan. Now you can leave that in your company for as long as you want. There is no time limit on you sort of needing to take that back out or how you take that back out. Obviously, you want to make sure your company is running profit before you do, but whether you take it back out as a lump sum or little bits, it's entirely up to you. The great thing is that you take it back out tax free. So it will be shown as in your company, it's like director's loan, it's what it's called on your company's accounts, and it's an account that will register anything that you put in so that when it comes out, you are able to take that back out tax-free and without penalty. It's up to you whether you charge your company interest on that money. I generally tend not to. If I give a director's loan to my company, I just tend to give it. And when the company can give it back to me, or I take it in bits and pieces, then I take it back. I generally don't tend to charge interest, but some people do. It's up to you. So that's the simple answer. That's how you do it.
I charge interest, Dee.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's because you're a shrewd man, a shrewd businessman.
It's not just that. What it is I think the reason why I charge interest is The company has the benefit of my money. If I've remortgaged, then I've taken money out. I have to service that loan I've taken out. If I now give it to my company, then and I don't get any money from the company, then it's a liability to me. I've got to now service that loan through my own means. So what I tend to do is if I take it at 4% as a remortgage, I would charge one of my companies 6%. Just so at the end of the day, because you will pay tax on the 2% profit, it will be thrown into your income. So there is tax to be paid, but you don't want to pay too much, but you don't want to pay, you don't want to actually gain nothing from that drawdown. So the 2% I charge, I think is acceptable by my accountant HMRC, but that's the main reason. I would charge interest to the company of an amount of at least what I pay out to service the money I've taken out.
Definitely, if you're going to take it from your house and you're going to pay additional interest on that, yes. Another way to look at it is whatever I am investing that money to do, taking that money to invest in, I'm expecting to make, profit using that money. So whatever, if I'm going to take that money, say I was going to do a flip, I'm expecting to take X amount of money or make X amount of money from that flip. So, the idea is wherever you take the money from, you're taking that money to make more than you're taking. That's the idea. Now, obviously, if you're putting it into your company, like you say, and you're putting it in from releasing equity and it's charging interest, of course, you want to be able to cover your overheads. Some people might want to cover those overheads by doing a BRR, and then the increase in rent that they're getting in passive income, they make sure that that's offsetting what's going on. So there's different ways to make sure you offset. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. There are different ways, but yeah, there's no right. You see that this is the beauty of this, is that there are different people with different ways of doing things, but it amounts to getting the same answer, the same outcome. Yeah. So, okay, brilliant. Thank you for that, Ad.
Okay.
Next question. That's from Dr. Mark Ledwidge. So his question to us tonight is, can people use pensions to purchase property, and what kind of pension would one need to utilize? Thank you. Shall I attack that one, Ad?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So, yes, Dr. Mark, you can use pensions to purchase property. A lot of people are doing that nowadays, especially commercial, more so commercial than residential. So if you are using a SIP or a SAS, and you must make sure that you know what your particular pension provider allows, what your SIP or SAS allows you to do, you can use your SAS to buy a property, have that property within the SAS, and a rental income from that property goes into that SAS tax-free. You can have up to 11 members into a SAS. So if it's a SIP, it's an individual pension. And if it's a SAS, you can have it with family members. The great thing about buying those properties or property with the SAS is that your SAS can also lend 50% of the purchase value to your company, your property company that's buying. So say you are buying a property, 100,000, your SAS can lend you 50,000 in addition for that purchase. And then the rental income can come in tax-free. And if and when, God forbid, but we all will do, if and when you die, those properties are left in that pension as a legacy for the people that are left behind in the pension with you. So if you've got 10 family members in there, you pass away, that's still there with them running on without, all of that whole kind of tax implication. We have to go deeper into that, don't get me wrong, it's just a broad overview, but that's a great way, using your SIP or your SAS to buy property. It's probably the better way to buy commercial property, using your SIP or your SAS.
And just to back you up on that, Dee, I think if you do your maths very simply, commercial mortgages, generally about 65% loan to value. If you can now take 50% of your SAS or SIP value and put that into the deal, you've got your mortgage of 65, whatever 50% of your SAS looks like, which may equate to more than the 35% remaining that you have to find to buy that property, you may find now you can get 100% finance. You actually don't have to go into your pocket. Your SIP or your SAS provides the deposit and the completion funds because it's a value of high enough, and your 65% loan to value acquisition mortgage, you now are getting 100% finance. That's got to be one to look at. Come and see us. Let's talk about SIPs and SAS.
Yep, definitely. Brilliant. Okay, just answering some questions in the chat box as well, actually. Okay, right. So last question, last group of questions, I'll say, Ad. That is from Michelle and also from Robert.
Yeah.
Would you like me to read it out and you answer?
Yes,
So,
please. That'll be sounds good.
about inherited properties. So Robert has asked, I would like to release some equity from my inherited property. How would I go about doing this?
Okay. And it looks like Michelle, from now I'm reading this, I think Michelle is Robert's other half, because
Yes.
it says, Michelle says, hubby would like to release some equity from the inherited property. How would he go about doing this? So Robert, Michelle, Mr. and Mrs., I'm assuming if I've got it wrong, I apologize. To answer your question, it all depends on whether you've fully inherited the property. And by that, I mean, you've either had a letter of administration where there was no will, or you've had a grant of probate where there was a will. If you've got that far, you can take, and it's been bequeathed to you, you can take ownership of that property. At that point, you can go to financiers, you can go to bridgers, straightforward term lenders, and say, I would like to raise some money for doing whatever I want to do, and I'm going to service the loan from renting out the property or whatever means you're going to use to service it. But in a simple sense, it's going to be, I want to take out 50, 60%, 70% of the money on a simple buy to let. I'll rent out the property. I'll take that lump sum and I'll now go and do what I want to do in property. And you will continue servicing that debt on an interest only basis. Don't think of it like your residential homes where you pay capital repayment, which is the capital you borrowed as well as interest. On investment properties, it's interest only. You will get enough rent to service that loan, and now you have a large pot to go and do what you need to do with. Now, if the property has got a lien on it, in other words, there's a charge on it already, you may have to clear that, not you may, you will have to clear that to inherit the property, which you can do simultaneously, refinance, clear down the debt, and what's ever left, you're left with that as a pot to start. But your circumstances will always be different depending on what's happened with you and your family, because there could be siblings involved as well. It may be siblings who don't get on or siblings who have a loving relationship. There are so many different permutations and combinations. But again, come and see us at NPC. We do the free consultation, a 20-minute free consultation, where you can literally tell us what your issue is. And in that free consultation, if it's simple enough, we'll give you the answer and then you can go and do it. And if you want us to really hold your hand, then just sign up for some sessions and we'll drive you to achieve what you want to achieve. Because your success is our success. If we can say we've helped A, B, C, D, E, F, G and his testimonials, then it means we're doing a good job, and hopefully we can then help more members of the community.
Excellent, thank you. I'd also just add to that as well, inherited properties, a lot of people end up selling their inherited properties because they think that they have to pay for the inheritance tax. And that you don't have to sell on that basis. There are products that you can get and borrowing facilities that are there so that you can pay off, you know, whether you're in probate or just outside of probate, you know, there are different types of products that you can get to pay off that inheritance tax so you don't have to sell that property. So just please do, guys and ladies, remember that, okay?
Create legacy. Let's not sell our assets out of our community. Create a legacy. Keep it in your family.
Yes, definitely, without a doubt. Okay, so I think that was our last pre-submitted
Yeah,
question
and
or
it's
set of questions
perfect time,
that we can
perfect time. Indeed, it's
actually
8
get through
o'clock.
tonight. Yeah, I know that we can actually get through tonight. If there are any that were pre-submitted that we didn't get to, some of them we looked at were a little bit what's the word? A little bit more in depth, and so we'd love to answer those. But it'd probably be great if you contact us, reach out to us, and we can, you know, go through that on a free 20-minute consultation with you. Or also, if you can resubmit your question for next time as well, that would be great. But just do please get those questions in early. All right. So, Addy,
Right.
shall I hand over
Okay,
to you?
well, thank you, Dee. Well, again, thank you everybody so much for coming on. We've decided that we are passionate that in 2025 we get you embarking on your journey. If you've already embarked on it, we want to get you further down the road. So to encourage you to really think about what you want to do and how you're going to do it and how we're going to work with you and make sure you achieve those goals of 2025, we want you to come to us and work with us. And as an incentive to do that, we've decided to give those of you tonight who have come on and given us your time, we're going to offer you, we're going to make a special offer for you. You know, we do the free 20-minute consultations. That goes without saying. You're all welcome to come and have one of those. Just book in with Nat and Jess and you're okay. But what we're going to do in addition to that, for the month of February, and for those of you who have attended or you registered, even if you weren't able to attend, we're going to offer you a 30% discount on our published prices. That's a 30% discount on our published prices. That means whether you do just 1 hour with us or whether you take a package of consultancy sessions, whatever it says on the list price, deduct 30% off. So if that isn't an incentive, I don't know what is. But also, don't get caught up in that I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. And then you reach the end of February and say, oh my God, oh, it's coming to an end. Look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, am I serious about achieving my goals? If you are, here is an offer that will incentivize you and make it more affordable for you to come and at least have the discussions and see where you can go. If you don't put your toe in the water, you will never know what it feels like. You'll never know how deep it is. And I'm telling you, that water is like the Caribbean Sea. Get in it and enjoy it. And to make it even further a call to action, the first person who signs up for one of our packages or an hourly rate and will get the 30% discount, but in addition will be given another free hour consultation. So you'll get 1 hour, you get your 20 minutes, you'll then get an additional 1 hour, and then if you sign up for any of the packages, you get 30% as a discount. Now, as I said, one of the reasons why we're recruiting more consultants, which will be during the course of this month, is because we know people are serious about this. This is a great number we've had on tonight. We know people are serious about this and we've got to be able to service their needs. So when we put this offer out, we know we can cope with the demand because we have the infrastructure in place to be able to deal with that. So on a final note,
sorry, Addy, I was just going to say to the office, can we have a link in the box so that people can sign up now if they want to, in terms of just registering? I don't know if they can, if there's anything that we can give to them to register for.
Yeah.
No,
and
I
here's,
don't know. Yeah, okay.
This is just a visualization of what you need to do to register. Jess is putting it across the screen now. Again, we'll put something in the chat box. And if it's you and you're serious, please, you can take your time. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I don't know what your finances are. Christmas has just come. You might not be ready to get into property and investing. But if you are that person that's ready and we keep on delaying, you're always going to be that person that's ready, but never really achieving what you want to achieve. So you can keep talking about it and we have no problem with that. You can keep coming attending our Q&As. We love you. We can keep attending our 3 monthly webinars. We love when you're on with us. But at some point, please, ladies and gentlemen, take the first step. Because I can tell you from personal experience, and I'll let Dee speak for herself in a moment, that from personal experience, my property journey has put me in a place where I never thought I'd be in my life. And that's the God's honest truth. So on that note, I'm going to hand you over to Dee to finish off tonight. But thank you all for coming on, and I look forward to seeing you in the near future.
Brilliant. Thank you, Az. Well, I can only just echo what you've said. I am just going to give a small snippet just to see if we have another one of our partners in the room. Is there anything that you'd want to quickly say, Emmanuel, to anyone in the room? Just a quick. You're saying no, Az? Just a quick. Oh, you shake. No, he's not saying no.
Immense value this evening. Immense value, and it's been a great webinar.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's one of our partners, one of our strategic partners, part of our power team. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I'm sure if any of you come on board, you know, you will meet more members of our power team as well. So last but not least, all I can say is thank you for joining us. Dream big, but the best way to predict your future is to create it, okay? And we are here to help you create it. And with that note, I have nothing left to say other than until we see you next month, please do not count the days, but make your days count. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Deanne. Thank you. Take care. Bye, guys.